921. The state collects 19 million in huff tax, and we're returned 200 million in what's called a supplemental payment. Now that sounds really good, doesn't it? That sounds pretty darn good.
Yeah, if the federal government had any money of their own.
Exactly. That's exactly right. Until you consider the federal debt of $22 trillion. And again, I tried to find a visual aid and help you understand, and I didn't quite get it right.
I was wondering what that was about.
Yeah, I'm sure you were. So these are millions, and these are billions, and this is trillions, and there's 22 in here, and represents our national debt. But my visual aid kind of failed because there's 1,000 billions in a trillion. So this egg, these eggs need to be big enough to accommodate 1,000 of these. And then the visual aid would be in proper perspective. Okay?
We're starting to talk about real money here, Teresa.
Yeah, we're starting to talk about real money here. So it's great that, our federal government leverages the money and can be so successful in doing that, except that, who holds our debt? China and Japan and
us.
And the Fed.
Yeah.
The Fed.
40% of our debt is owned by foreign companies, foreign countries and foreign governments. But, we own the rest. So
doesn't that change that? They're not going to keep giving that much money. At some point, the feds drop off, don't they?
Well, that's what we're. That's
what we're worried
That's
about.
what we don't know exactly. We just don't know because nobody actually knows the actual cost. See, this payment was designed to help bridge the shortfall from Medicaid rate, and our Medicaid rate is established based on our wealth, on our income rates. And we are actually at the lowest, and I've got information here on that. I can give you specifics, but Alaska and Montana, we get paid more than any other state for Medicaid and the actual cost. But the scary thing is that we can't find what the actual costs were, and we brought bills to try to develop some transparency in the healthcare system, because. Saline in one hospital should probably be about the same rate as in another, and a procedure in, I just heard from somebody the other day that the husband and wife, they both had colonoscopies. One was $2,800 and the other was $5,800, Yeah, so I mean, there's just a lot of, and it's all going to be done through the DPHHS, and there's, what were you going to say, Ron?
How much of this hinges on Obamacare? Because there's a good chance Obamacare will be overturned in the Supreme Court.
Right.
Because of this ruling in Texas that's going to the 9th and then go to the Supreme Court. Will that knock out that 90%, 10% thing? Because isn't it all tied into Obamacare?
Yes, it is. It's all tied into Obamacare.
And
We'll
if that
definitely
happens,
have
then what happens to the law?
Yeah, exactly. We don't know yet. We will have to deal with that when it comes up. We are anticipating that happening. This bill, as it passed, does have a sunset date in 2025. We don't really expect it to make it that far. We'll have to deal with it as we can. Here's another example on the debt. I thought this one was fun. If you spent $1 million a day since Jesus was born, you would not have spent $1 trillion by now.
Wow. Wow.
Trillions is a big number. Trillions is a big number.
What's that? So bottom line is, we're getting taxed so the hospitals can stay flush. Now, I just want to share with you why I voted no on Medicaid expansion. And again, it's the principle of Article 2, Declaration of Rights, Section 1, popular sovereignty. All political power is vested in and derived from the people. All government of right originates with the people and is founded upon their will only. And the people said no. The people said no pretty emphatically. House District 85, my people, my district, 63% of the voters said no. House District 86, 54% said no. House District 87, 63% of the voters said no. And House District 88, 58% of the voters said no. So it wasn't just no, it was no. And I could not be prouder of them for that. I could not be more proud of our people because who doesn't want free money, you know, and free health care?
No such thing.
There's no such thing. There's absolutely no such thing as free money. Yes.
My understanding is there were two versions, or two separate bills. There was a Democrat bill and a Republican bill in the House. And I was a little confused, and perhaps you can clear up for me, because the Republican bill, the way I understand it, had some conditions. I don't like either one of them, but it had some conditions. The Democrat bill had 0 conditions. And I was confused why Derek Skis voted to blast that onto the floor, the Democrat bill.
Okay, we'll talk about that. Let's see, where am I going? That was just a tactic. He wanted to expose, because the Democrats loved the Democrat bill, and they hated Buttrey's bill. Okay, they absolutely hated. And I sat there through 8 hours of hearing on a Saturday afternoon, and that was very, very, very obvious to anybody who was present. The Democrats loved Caffero's bill. They hated Buttrey's bill. But then, and the bill was kept hidden from us. We were not allowed to see it, we were not allowed to research it or know about it until it was kind of sprung on us at the last minute. And only after Buttrey and the governor and the Solutions Caucus made a deal on the bill where it was amended 85 times and most of the good Republican stuff was taken out and the liberal stuff was put in. And then we were exposed to it on the floor and had to vote on it. And again, I knew I was a no on it based on the Constitution, based on our platform.
So it was an exposure tactic?
Yep, exactly. And if you went to find it in the archives, you could see that. He was basically playing with the Democrats because he knew they really hated the Republican bill, Buttrey's bill, but they had been told that they had to toe the line, and if they wanted Medicaid expansion, this is what they were getting, and they had to vote for it. And all of a sudden, they went from hating Buttrey's bill to voting for it. Yeah. It's political theater, is what it is. Okay. All right, so, just again, the reasons I voted no on Medicaid expansion. The voters said no, and that's all I need to know. You know, that is all I need to know based on the Constitution. It conflicts with our party platform. Let's see if I can find it there.
It says it's a Ponzi scheme near the bottom. What did you mean by that, please?
I'm going to get there. Yeah.
We don't have a couple of minutes.
Okay.
So,
Oh, okay. All right.
I don't know if you guys want to continue on for a little while?
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay, everybody wants to say, okay. Good job.
Okay. So our platform states, we recognize the constitutional concept of individual free will, responsibility and accountability in personal health care decisions. The innate dignity of the human spirit means we believe in the potential of people with disabilities to contribute, rehabilitate, and receive maximum opportunities for employment, volunteer work, and independent living in the best of their abilities. We support the expansion of private health care options. We oppose the expansion of government-provided healthcare services to able-bodied adults. And that is what this does. That is what it does. This is a continuation of Obamacare. It absolutely is. And Obamacare, you know, one of the Democratic talking points is that, that I've heard said a lot, is that Republicans had the House and the presidency and the Senate for 2 years and we did nothing. We did nothing, okay? Well, think about that for a minute. Obamacare changed the entire discussion from making healthcare more affordable and higher quality, and it took it from that, from a free market aspect, to talking about a socialized delivery system.
Yep.
Okay, so there's a huge chasm that created, and it's not going to be fixed in a short period of time. It is socialism. Who said, from each according to his ability to each according to his needs? Who said that?
Karl Marx.
Karl Marx. That's exactly right. And that's what this is. That's exactly what this is. It's inequitable. Only the providers who accept Medicaid will actually reap any benefits from it. It's a shell game. If you, now I had some handouts there that I gave you. One article was in the Wall Street Journal, authored by the Townsend Group International, which is global investors they work with real assets, and they talk about the fact that it's a shell game, and I would encourage you to read that. I sure do somewhere. You can have this one. The Ponzi scheme is the fact that you've got money moving in a circular fashion, going from the hospitals to the state, to the federal government, to the state, to the hospitals, without anything backing it up except $22 trillion in debt. Okay? When Madoff does it, he goes to jail. When the federal government and the state government does it, it's legal. Okay? So that's what that is. And then finally, for those of us who are pro-life, it does include taxpayer abortions and sex changes on the taxpayer dollar. So I would hope that you would agree with me that I had due cause to vote no on Medicaid expansion.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Now, this may get a little long, but I'm going to go back a little bit. We have a book here. It's titled The United States Constitution. Now, if anybody in this room, anybody in the world can find an article or section of the United States Constitution that says the federal government has a role in health care, I'll eat this book.
So will I.
Now, there's an amendment to the United States Constitution, the 10th Amendment. The powers not delegated to the United States by the Constitution nor prohibited to the states by it are reserved to the states respectively and to the people. Now,
That's right.
where do we get off having Medicare even to begin with? I get statements from my insurance company on Medicare. Medicare will charge or will authorize a certain amount of payment. And then they won't even pay the amount they authorize. The
Your supplement.
hospitals and doctors have to pick this cost up someplace, so they pick it up on people who are not on Medicare. I am almost ashamed to go to the doctor because I have Medicare, because I know the doctor is not getting paid for his work. Now, if you can take somebody's productivity and make them give that up, these people are slaves. And this is where we're going in this country. If they get control of our health care, they control everything you do.
That's right.
That's right.
And that's why I opposed this Medicaid expansion. It's unconstitutional to begin with. Against this,
That's right. And it's not a Republican solution, and it's not a conservative solution. So,
Well,
It's not
yeah,
been working.
yeah, exactly, exactly. So this handout, you'll see that what we've documented as far as increases in the top 6 executive positions in the hospitals across the state and how much their salaries have increased. between 2015 and 16, they increased by 27%, and between 17 and 18, 46%. That's a lot of money. This one is concerning all the payouts that the hospitals have received, and your legislators paid for this ad to be run in different papers all over the state. You can see the names of the people at the bottom there that paid for that. And this one is a editorial that several of us wrote and ran. So I hope that you'll read and review those and take those into consideration. And I'm sorry, I wish my news was better to share with you. As for me and my vote, I will remain a Christian constitutional conservative, and I appreciate it.
I've got something here. We have created a certificate for following the Constitution, and it is awarded to Teresa Manzellas.
Thank you. That means the world to me, because it's...
You shouldn't feel bad about bringing bad news, because what we need is truth, good, bad, or otherwise.
And I appreciate that about this group. You know, this group I can share the truth with. There's something that I can't, unfortunately.
Well, ma'am, why wouldn't you be able to share the truth that you just told us, the things that you just put the cards on the table? Is there another group that you would speak, like for instance, I heard this morning that some of our people like yourself and I probably Jason and a couple others that are in our state legislature are going to be at a meeting this coming Monday that are going to be speaking on what happened in the legislature. Why can't you just say it the way you just did at some other group?
Well, I probably will, but it's not without risk. You know, it's certainly not without risk.
And in your last term, you don't have to worry about the votes.
She's got one more term.
No,
She's got one more term?
Yeah.
Yes, thank God.
Then in that case, then I understand.
Katie.
I'm looking at these papers and there's a couple things that you're not addressing in these papers. The one with this Medicaid expansion payments to hospitals. The one thing that has to be considered in this is these payments may be made for Medicaid care, but what are the expenses that the hospital is incurring to care for these individuals? Because if you look at some of these hospitals, a lot of them are in some of the bigger cities. So they will have a larger population of individuals that are on Medicaid. And since Medicaid is two separate types of divisions, you have traditional Medicaid, which is provisions for pregnant women with children that are low income, the elderly, and the disabled. And then you have the Medicaid expansion. This is combining both of them. And it's also not taking into account any kind of expenses that the hospitals are incurring to care for these individuals, whether it be inpatient or outpatient. The other thing is this particular piece of paper that talks about the hospital executive pay. You may want to consider discussing whether these are for-profit or non-profit hospitals, because there's nothing in here that says whether these are non-profits or for-profits. And there is a distinct difference between the payments with those two. Because of course a for-profit hospital will pay their executives more than a non-profit would. So that's expected. The other thing is, as you mentioned, the individuals that had colonoscopies, one had one for $2,800, the other one had one for $5,800. My question would be, was there anything within their medical history that caused those colonoscopies to differ because of the medical complexity of those particular individuals? So that can explain, that actually 99.9% of the time does explain the differences in the cost, because the hospitals are required by federal law, under all the regulations and under state regulations, that they must document every single thing that a person receives, all the way down to a single aspirin. So all of this must be documented. So those individuals that have that discrepancy between their costs, it will very easily be explained by looking at their medical records and seeing One person may have had considerable polyps. They may have had to have more anesthesia because they couldn't be anesthetized well. They may have needed additional fluids. So to try and simplify it like that, this is not a simple process.
Absolutely. It's not a simple
The whole
process. No.
Medicaid system, the whole Medicare system.
That's right,
the whole
it
healthcare
is.
system,
This is.
the
You're right.
whole-
It's very complicated.
It is incredibly complicated. So this is trying to simplify it to something that just doesn't make sense.
What's simple is that it's outside the boundaries of our Constitution. Medicaid is, healthcare is a service, a free market service. It is not a right.
Bernie
That
says it's a
is-
right.
Pardon me?
Bernie says it's a right.
Yeah, that's.
What's the matter with you?
Bernie and I disagree on that. To address your last comment, the two people that had spoke to me about their colonoscopies, that was it was their first experience. So, and I spoke to them directly, so there wasn't any of the things that you mentioned, but I do appreciate your
It could
perspective.
very well be that you need to look at the medical records before you can say that, because they probably.
She's not gonna be able to look at the medical records.
No.
She's not a
No,
doctor.
the thing is,
Yes.
though, is you can't make those kind of comments that there's a discrepancy in the cost.
I can because they actually shared them with
told
me, yes.
And they showed you their medical records.
No, I didn't ask to see their medical records, Katie. They simply shared with me that they found it very unusual that they would go to the same hospital and one would be charged $5,800 and the other would be whatever it was, $2,800. You know, and it was their first experience having the colonoscopy, and they found that very strange.
Well, I have two comments, and one of them is, the biggest question mark figure in here is the hospital's cost. If this hospital is charging $25 for a pair of rubber gloves, and that hospital is charging $1, the cost factor is just like a pig in a poke. I mean, it's absolutely nothing. There's no way to actually qualify that unless you had a list of what they used and applied the same dollar figure, so that's gonna be really a tough one. And then, what were we all told when they were collecting money out of our paychecks? You're paying for Medicare, we're collecting money, we're taking your money. This is not an entitlement program, like I don't feel
Yeah, we
like
didn't
working
have a
and I want
choice.
medical insurance. They told us we were paying for it. Now they're trying to tell us it's an entitlement, like we're on welfare.
Right.
And that's crazy.
Right. Just real quick, on this one here, this handout here on the shell game, I just wanted to read. The GAO study, which is the Government Accountability Office study, is the most recent comprehensive look at taxes on medical providers, and we simply do not know how much they have grown since 2012. CMS itself may not know. The Government Accountability Office study noted that CMS does not collect accurate and complete data from all states on various sources of funds to finance the non-federal share. So what they're telling us is that they just don't know. They're just, and that's what our state legislative service division is also telling us. They can't get any hard costs. They can't get any grit.